This is the Inspection Pros Podcast, where we break down everything you need to know to grow a successful home inspection company. Join host Jake as we get insider knowledge from the industry's best on how to take your business to the next level.
Welcome back to the Inspection Pros Podcast. I'm your host, Jake Aronson, and this show is brought to you by Pair Payments. And today we are very excited to have with us Wesley Mathews of High Level Marketing based out of Michigan. Nice to have you here today, Wesley.
Hey.
It's good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So, Wes, I had a great conversation with you in our Under Pressure podcast that's specifically for pressure washers.
Yeah.
And through that podcast, I got to know you and got to know that you have a lot of experience with home service companies. And so I'm very excited to have you on here today as you've worked with home inspectors, you know the industry, and you have a lot of great insights that I think you can bring to this podcast. So I want to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself, talk a little bit about what your company, High Level Marketing, does, and then you can mention what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you for that. Again, my name is Wesley Mathews. I started and founded a company back in 2009 called High Level Marketing. And the mission was simple, kind of launching the business, is I wanted to create a transparent digital marketing company. So I never wanted to wear a suit to a meeting. And for whatever reason, I just love small, scrappy, entrepreneurial run companies, which by default, home services, healthcare, but more predominantly home services. You know, like I have a lot of respect for like the roofers, plumbers, electrician. And I saw the need in the marketplace because, you know, rewind back to 2009, like where were we going to invest your dollars? Yellowpages.com. Like that was the answer, right? So I want to come out and just help, you know, identify the right opportunities for home services to you know, let their dollars, create ROI. And I wanted to be able to speak in ROI. So, you know, what I want to talk about today a little bit is just, you know, I have a lot of experience. You know, now it's 2022, right? And I'm an entrepreneur like all of your listeners, and started off with a partner, added 1 employee, 2 employees. Well, today we're about 118 employees, and we'll just do about a little over 20 million in revenue this year. We started with 0. You know, I started just like everybody else, and I still have a long way to go. I mean, I actually had a meeting today about how we need to step on the gas and keep going. So a lot of people, it's funny when you go through different phases. I hired my first employee, I think, for $9 an hour. And I remember looking at my partner saying, I don't know how the hell we're going to pay her, but we need to hire her. And now, I mean, to think about that is so grounding and refreshing because, you know, it's just, you kind of just keep growing. And why I'm here today to share, it's like, I love growth. I love looking at new opportunities. So I think, you know, my share today is like, listen, lifelong learning, and expand your mind, right? I think in home services, most of the guys I work with and gals, they're really good at their craft. But from a business perspective, they may not have thought about scale or, you know, zooming out of the business to really understand, I got to get out of this and really start to grow and work on the business, not in the business. And I've had the experience of transforming a few businesses where they were owner operator doing everything, where now they've got 50 trucks on the road and they're running a very large, successful business. So I think it always depends on the entrepreneur on what they're looking for. But, you know, if I can provide 1 or 2 takeaways that somebody can hear today, that'll make me feel good about it. So,
and we would love that, and I'm sure you can. So to dive right into it, I know that you have a home inspector in the area that you've worked with. So do you have any good stories of marketing and growth that you could get into off the bat so we could hear a little bit about some of the experiences you've had?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think today's a good one, right? I mean, I don't know where all your listeners are located, but the market's insane.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I would imagine the home inspectors are going to be listening to this 3 months from now because they're so busy and they can barely breathe right now. But I think that's an important fact because you still want to pay attention while things are good. And you don't want to like slow down your marketing or your spend when things are good. And that's what I've ran into a lot with home inspectors and home services. It's like, well, when things are great, like I'll just peel back. That's when I almost want to double down because everything's cyclical, everything's a cycle. And at some point, this market's going to cool down. And you definitely got to make sure that you're further ahead than your competition. So, you know, I've had the experience of, you know, I remember the first home inspector I worked for, he was like, I don't want a website. I get all of my referrals from realtors, right? And I've had these relationships, but I'm always like, again, you have to want to grow your business, but you got to have a website, you know? home inspection, to me, it's really important. And I think there's a misconception out there about, oh, well, the mortgage company's saying I should get it, or the realtor says I should get it, or shit, there's a lot of people that are doing it, buying houses sight unseen and paying $100,000 over asking price right now. For me, it's a protection around your probably largest investment that most consumers are going to make. So I think how you show up as a home inspector and how you're viewed online, one, you got to make sure you have a phenomenal website, because I don't care if you're a consumer or a realtor, you're going to that website to check that person out. And even today, Facebook, social media, one of the guys I see locally in the area, he always takes pictures. Like the other day I saw something, it was like this this house was ready to fall apart on the one picture. And then his last job of the day was like this really tricked out mansion. And he's just like, you never know what the day is going to bring. But what he does is he prides himself on, doesn't matter if it's a mansion or that house that's falling over, he's going to bring 100% detail and really, do a great home inspection. And I think with social media and web, it's more important today than it was then, just to stand out from your competition. And then also I hear a lot about, home inspectors are like, from an employment recruiting standpoint, like you want to show that your company's having fun. You want to show your core values. Because again, I've seen home inspectors that probably don't do the best job. And I see this guy who shows up in a clean hat, a clean shirt. He's uber professional. He gets a ton of referrals. So for me, it's looking outside of what works to understand what the possibilities are out there. And for me, that's why I love digital marketing, because if you work with the right professional or get the right feedback from the right company, you can learn new ways to capture new market share and new opportunities along the way.
Absolutely. And I'm very interested in something you said there. And there are a couple of things I want to touch on. The first, marketing to potential employees. That seems like it's a huge, powerful part of the marketing, where a lot of home inspectors now are at the point where, hey, we've really ramped up our marketing. We're getting a lot of jobs and we need to grow our business. It's time to scale. And a lot of people say, hey, I can't find the right people to hire. What's the power in tailoring your market to making you project yourself as a company that someone wants to work at? What's the power in that?
So I've been married for 16 years. I have 4 kids, but I'm going to use an analogy. So I have a single buddy who goes on the phone apps to date, right? And I will say the individuals who he chooses to go out on a date, they put their best picture out there and they put the best content, like, I like this, I like that. So again, just thinking about that concept around, you have to be appealing online, whether it's from an end user that's going to hire you for home inspection or a potential hire. You have to look good. Not only that, you have to like believe in it and deliver behind it. So when you show up for that date, you better match the profile or things aren't going to end well. But I think in today's age, like, employees are looking for culture, value, beliefs. And look, I'm 41. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm a scrappier entrepreneur. A lot of guys are resistant. Like, I don't need the web. I don't need this and that. Like, the new school or the sons and daughters are coming in and they're taking over the business. Like, it's all about social media. I mean, I can't tell you, I have a 12-year-old myself who's turning 13. Like, his days spent like this. It's Snapchat. It's a different world than where we grew up. And I just encourage people to open their mind to think about how things are changing, right? Like, I'm connecting with you through a streaming technology and I'm in Southeast Michigan and we've been able to connect, yet we've never met in person. That was unheard of even 10 years ago, right? So I think that on the home services space, look, there might be opportunities for a home inspector to hire an admin to go out with a phone and tour the house, and the home inspector's at home doing the job. That might already exist, or I just gave somebody a really great idea. I mean, it's just things you have to start to think about, because the market's shifting and your competitors are going to eat your lunch. So digital, social, small bites, media, and like what you guys are doing, the podcast media, like getting in front of realtors, giving seminars, that kind of thing is really important.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. And I see that a lot now, that, to know that a company exists, it has to have a presence online. Otherwise, if it doesn't have a presence online, it basically doesn't exist, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It seems like that's just the status quo. And so to have that online presence, what do you think the base level online presence someone needs is? If someone's listening to this podcast and they're like, oh, I just started up my company, because And you had asked earlier, where is it mostly located, our listeners, our audience? And I just looked it up. In our statistics, we are very heavy in California, Texas, Florida, New York, and Massachusetts. That's where the vast majority of our listeners come from.
Awesome.
That helps tailor anything.
Yeah.
But the question I have for you, I think this is huge. If someone's listening to this episode and they're thinking, wow, what you're saying, Wes, I need to get involved in social media. I haven't been doing it for years. What's the baseline? Where does someone get into the game?
So there's there's sort of two options. There's the self-serve model, like I want to do this myself and figure it out, or the let me just figure out the best deal and hire professionals. Even if I was out of digital marketing and I'm advising somebody, if you're a really good home inspector and you know your craft, do that and do that well. Free up your time and hire a company to do a website and do the logo. So for example, you can always hire a company like us, High Level Marketing. And for us, a package starts like we'll do everything from website to content, get you that nice, pretty profile that I was talking about online. I think anyway, it starts like $500 to $800 a month for everything, which you have to think that, when you build a website, you're talking about IT infrastructure, you're talking about content, SEO, strategy, design. Like I could go on and on and on in terms of how many people actually touch that project. But look, I get it. If funds are tight and you're not quite there yet, I mean, GoDaddy has a decent solution. Like you can have GoDaddy create you a logo for $100 to $200 or go to logotournament.com. I have no affiliation with them, but literally you can go there and you can pay like a $200 like reward fee. You can put a concept, say, hey, I'm a home inspector in Sacramento, California. I like blue, green, yellow, and I want a cool, flashy logo. You submit that to the world, and you're going to get like 50 logo versions coming back to you, and you get to choose from. So I start there, pick a solid name, pick a nice market, and you could find somebody to build you a website. And again, as you start to grow your business, you work with a company like us, you're going to get more professional consulting and marketing, but that's really where you can start. Squarespace, there's a lot of self-serving websites out there and freelancers that can at least get you started. That way, get a killer business card, right? Because what you're going to do, I would imagine, as a home services, hit every realtor, reach out to them, get nice branding, nice clothing, a nice clean hat, a nice crisp shirt, and start shaking hands. And as you start to develop and get new deals, that's step 2 of when you can really start to dial in to your online digital marketing efforts. I mean, that's what I would recommend if I was bootstrapping that business myself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important because we've had these conversations on this podcast before. If anyone remembers the episode with Sean Rossback about E-Myth, covering that book, where, you talk about the technician and how the technician starts the business because they love what they do and they're really good at it. You can't be wearing all the hats if you want to grow the business. And that's exactly what you're saying is if you're an expert in home inspections and that's what you really succeed at doing and you kill it, you excel, do that. Go excel at that and then, pay someone else to go do what they excel at so that they can take your business to the next level and you're not spending, it's like not sunk cost, but it's almost like, it's like who can do it better, right? So it's like an advantage here. It's an absolute advantage or a comparative advantage when someone can do it much better at a lower price because they are an expert in it, right? So whether it's a company like you're saying, or even Fiverr or something like that, it just makes so much sense that you go have someone who's a professional at it, do it so you're not wasting time and you can spend more time in your business. So now, if someone's got that baseline covered, what do you think is the best way they can take it to the next level? Where home inspectors now say they have a couple inspectors that work for them, they're doing more administration. Should they look in-house to see if they can get someone in-house, or is that cost value not there? Should they, invest in some new campaign? What do you think is the next level in marketing?
Yeah, for sure. So again, I think, you hit on a good point, right? If you're a home inspector and have a couple, individuals now working for you, I had a lot of great success working with somebody who, not so much in the home services space, but he entered the water damage space. And ironically, I personally owned a domain name called waterdamagemi.com. And I was getting a ton of leads that people wanted water damage repair. And I had mentioned this to him, and he's like, well, what are you doing with the leads? And I said, honestly, it's too much of a pain in the ass to like send them to other people or sell them. Like I literally burn them. I don't do anything with them. he built a $15 million business based on that concept where we created the website and he took every phone call coming into the organization. So what I would recommend to your question is if I'm in home services and I used to be the guy to actually fulfill the home service job and do all that, and I want to grow my business to the next level, understand your sales pipeline and inbound lead flow. Because if I get a lead calling into me specifically, I'm going to convert that lead and then I'm going to set my technician up with that job. And this is how my dear friend built his business to 15 million, because somebody that would close, say, 20% of those calls coming in, he closed like 95% of them coming in. Because again, if they're reaching out to you online and it's home services, you should be able to convert them, right? There's no reason they should go to the next guy.
Yeah.
My experience with any home service thing related is the first one to pick up the phone and to have a meaningful conversation gets the business, especially in this market. So, that's a big one. And again, I think it goes back to really taking a step back. And I always thought, like, I had the opportunity, like I love EOS, the Entrepreneur Operating System. Mm-hmm. So there's days, right, in your 90-day, I look at my life as 90-day quarters, rocks. You have to take a step back to work on the business. And I think you have to ask yourself as the business owner, entrepreneur, what do I want? Like, do I want service techs? Like, always project out 3 to 5 years. What does the business look like in 3 to 5 years? Understand what that is, and then figure out how to work backwards. And if you don't, one of the best things I learned early on in business is, hire smarter people than you, or affiliate yourself. Start asking those questions or connecting yourself with other home inspectors or mentors that built what you're trying to do. And this advice is, it's stuff that I use in my own digital marketing company. Like, we do about a little over 20 million. Like, we're still very small. Like, my mentor out there, they just sold for like $500 million. Like, it just depends on what you're looking for. But I think that make sure you lift your head up to work on the business and ask yourself that question often, because it gets busy. Like, as an owner operator, like, I get it. Like, you're out there, like, business is good right now and home inspections keep flying in. But at some point, we all know that's going to slow down if you don't have anything backfilling that.
Absolutely. And I love the whole sentiment there of like the technician to CEO mindset. That's a podcast actually that Bergflow has. Brad Williams hosts that. He's been on this podcast before. And it is just so important that you set everything up and you have the whole system in place so that if you are an owner operator, you can move from technician to CEO and really grow your business by thinking like this at a high level, just like you are from high level marketing. Yeah. They can get a high level here. And it's such a different game, right? When you're growing at these different levels, like basically what I'm getting from you is there's different levels and you really have to change your thinking when you get to those different levels, right?
Yeah. And one of the big things for me, so again, I'm in digital marketing and we don't sell home services. We sell website design, development, SEO and all that. But oftentimes, and I see a lot of entrepreneurs do this, is I had a team of like 5 successful salespeople. And what happens is the number one sales guy is typically looked at as, oh, wow, you should be sales manager, right? Because you're the best one. Oftentimes companies then take that individual, put them as manager, and it blows up. And they're like, well, what happened? Like, Johnny was like the best sales guy. Now he's a manager and he's not any good and we want to fire him or it doesn't work. It's because they are 2 completely different things, right? Like, I was CEO of, like, I'm a good leader of people, but I'm a terrible manager. I'm too emotional. Like, it's hard for me to do that. And I think as an owner, entrepreneur, like, you have to understand your shortcomings quickly and then structure how to build an organization. And for me, I wasn't good at that. So I hired a COO who didn't give a shit about it. Like, he's there for the job's got to get done. This is what's got to happen. It's a business, Wes. I don't care if you feel bad. It's a business. But that's what you have to do to grow a successful company, is understand what are all the things that need to get done. What does the leadership team look like, and you as the entrepreneur build it. You're the one responsible for building it and the strategy behind it. And like I said, you can do whatever you want. If you want one truck, or not one truck, like you want to do your own home inspections, or you want to manage 3,000 a month, you just have to want it and start to take the steps to build it.
Absolutely. And so this is a great stopping point to take a moment to hear a word from our sponsor, Pair Payments, and we'll be right back.
The home inspection industry is highly competitive, and you need an edge to stay on top. You certainly can't afford to give profit away for no reason. But what if I told you credit card processors may be overcharging you and robbing you of profits you've worked hard to earn? It's time to put an end to being overcharged for payment processing. It's time to take back your profits. That's why we've put together a free report, How to Avoid Being Overcharged by Your Payment Processor. Head over to takebackyourprofits.com, download the report, and put an end to being overcharged for credit card processing. You've worked hard for your sales, and you deserve to keep it. What are you waiting for? Go to takebackyourprofits.com and download your report today.
Welcome back to the Inspection Pros podcast. We are back with Wes Mathews of High Level Marketing based out of Michigan. And so, Wes, thank you so much. This has been a great episode so far. And one thing I want to touch on that we had briefly mentioned before is EOS. I know you're a big fan of this framework, this model. So do you want to talk a little bit about maybe how you learned about it, how you applied it, anything like that? And then the books, if you have any other resources, dive right into it.
Yeah, for sure. I think at this point in my life, I should be on the EOS payroll because I just recommend it so much. But, EOS, like I only recommend a handful of things in my life, and EOS honestly changed my life. So look, I took the non-traditional route, or maybe a very familiar route for entrepreneurs. Like it took me 6 years in college, and no, I didn't become a doctor. That was for my associate's degree. Like I just hated school, probably a 2-point student through high school. I was more interested in partying. So I didn't go to a traditional college, university, and I took this track of like investing in myself and reading as much as possible. But EOS changed my life because as an entrepreneur, I didn't have like a management framework, or I didn't go to business school to come out and just like understand the world of finance. EOS is made for entrepreneurs. It was made for people like me. Like I'm a visionary entrepreneur, and it changed my life in the fact that, I'm an entrepreneur that I was wondering why the people around me weren't understanding what I was thinking or doing. And I'm like, I'm not communicating it, or they need structure and they need a process. So it takes like crazy entrepreneurs and help structure that framework to run a successful company. And really, to learn about it, there's a resource that you can pick up right now. It's called Rocket Fuel. You will learn about EOS in about 1 hour, and you'll read it and be like, this is so simple. Why didn't I think of it? But honestly, it's life-changing. Like I first implemented it, I think we just did about $1 million in revenue, and then we quickly scaled like $6.5 million in revenue. It allowed us to kind of break through and get everybody to buy in. So that thing was life-changing for me. Another thing, like I read a lot of content, I've read a lot of information, but if you want a swift kick in the butt, Grant Cardone 10X is a good book. If you're like, hey, how do I just kind of step on the gas? And also, I think it's called Unstoppable or Unbreakable by Tony Robbins. Like that book makes you question your why. And I know a lot of people have probably heard Simon Sinek, The Why, but that book like literally changed my perspective in thinking about how I approach business, family, and personal stuff. So, I know a lot of the guys listening, it's kind of a lot to kind of take in, but the one thing I want to let everybody know from the earlier segment is if you're a home inspector in your local market, the way that you just want to make sure you dominate in your local market. And really, from a 10-mile radius, if you have brick and mortar or the area you want to focus on, there's things you can do out there to help gain traction. And one is get Google reviews. If you're at a customer's home or you do a great job and you send a report and they say, thank you so much, or if you save them a ton of money because the foundation's cracked or whatever have you, Google reviews are gold for your business. And that's a good, inexpensive way outside of your time that you can really grow your business locally, because the name of the game is get more positive reviews than your neighbor and your competitor. And you're going to start to see yourself appear on search engines, and all of a sudden your phone's going to start ringing. And I know as an owner operator, you get busy and it's something that you don't think about often, but there's tools out there like House Call Pro, and there's other things like we provide some solutions that sort of automate this stuff for you. So again, that's why I always, if you understand what you're trying to do, work with the right people and have conversations on, hey, how can you help me get to this goal, right? The best clients of ours is, hey, we have 1 truck on the road, we want to get to 10. How would you do it? That's an exciting conversation for us because we can actually tell you with pretty laser precision accuracy in terms of how much it's going to cost, and looking at looking at this as an investment, not an expense.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Everybody's like, oh, this is so expensive and this, that, and the other. It's like I mentioned earlier, when I was going to pay that girl $9 an hour, I thought my life was over. I didn't know how I was going to do it. Now she's well over six figures. Like, it's just the mindset, and that $9, that was an investment. I looked at it as an expense. When I told my partner, I don't know how I'm going to do this, it was an investment. So it's the shift of thinking about how you're investing in your business and your growth.
It's such an important mindset shift, because I talk to so many home inspectors that I hear that from. I can't afford the marketing. I can't afford to do that. The money's just not in the business. And what I tell them as a representative of Pair Payments is, hey, come work with us. We'll save you we'll eliminate your credit card processing bill. And now there's the budget for marketing, all that. But exactly. And that's what they do. People come to us, they're able to knock off their credit card bill and now reinvest that in their business. And whether it's equipment, personnel, or marketing, it's so important to have that mindset shift that it is part of all of that investment. When you're investing in your company, marketing is so important. And that, I just wanted to touch on that and highlight that, because that's something I hear all the time. I just don't have that in the budget for marketing. And you know what? Whether you just started out or you've been doing it for a couple of years and now you're starting to really try to grow, that's the way to do it. You have to think of marketing as an investment.
Yeah, you do it. I mean, in a twist irony, right? I mean, the reason why you and I are having a conversation is because I met your CEO, and we both met each other through investments we made in both of our organizations by showing up to Boston at an event, right? So we didn't both go to that thinking, oh, I'm going to meet this person, this is what we're going to do. But it's all about how you show up and you make the best of your investment. So I mean, it just kind of goes to show, like, you know, and I know as an owner operator it's confusing, but I think that's where I just recommend, if you can hook up with a mentor, there's always somebody bigger and badder than you. I don't care who you are, what you know, what you do. Somebody in that space would take you under their wing if that's what you want to be. And hooking up with the right mentor is going to create a lot of opportunity. It'll help you with confidence and trust as you start to spend these marketing dollars, because you can ask them, hey, what did you do? I want to go from one home inspector myself to 5. What did you do? And again, like, if the first one says, I don't want to tell you because you're my competition, like, somebody out there, I think as entrepreneurs get to a point, they love giving back. They'll probably lay out the red carpet and give you the strategy. And again, you're going to take it and have to make tweaks and modify it, but at least you have a plan. Hooking up with the right marketing company, you know, it's a win-win.
That is so important. And we're going to touch on that in 1 second. I just looked it up, so I wanted to drop this in there. The Tony Robbins book you were talking about is Unshakable. And it has really good reviews. So I'd have to say, while I haven't read it, that might be next up for me. And I recommend that to our audience here, because Wes loves that one. So Unshakable by Tony Robbins. All right. So what you were just saying about the shows, I think is so important, these events, because a lot of our audience, we actually have met at events or talked to at events. So I know there are a lot of home inspection events out there. We go to a lot of them as Pair Payments. That's obviously where, Wes, you met Pair Payments at a small business event. I want to ask you, what is the importance of those? How can you leverage those? And would you say to someone, you absolutely have to be going to these events, whether it's in your industry or a small business expo? What do you recommend about that?
Yeah, I mean,
how do you take that?
I think it's got to be part of the strategy. And for example, if I'm a home inspector specifically, you bet your ass I'm going to every realtor event. You know, if there's, you know, who are my referral sources, right? If it's builders, realtors, like, I'm going to find out where they're at. I mean, even in my area, I could probably rattle off the top 3 in my area, and I would figure out how to get in front of them. I mean, I would invest my dollars with, you know, understanding a little bit more about that individual in that office. Like, do they like to golf? You know, maybe invite them to dinner, maybe invite them on a podcast or something. Anything to position myself in front of those opportunities, I would do. So to your point, I'm a people person. I'm an emotional guy. I need that connection. So for me, I'll make the best out of any situation when there's people in a room, because there's always somebody. I don't care if it's web. I don't care if it's merchant processing. I don't care if it's home inspection. It's making an impact on that one individual you're talking to. And even if they don't need your services, guess what? Most people I know, they have 100 to 300 contacts in their phone. Trust me, that person you're meeting, they know people that are buying and selling real estate. And you never know. Their sisters, cousins, brothers, friends. Susie is probably the top realtor in your area. You just never know. So to answer your question, I'll shake as many hands, kiss as many babies as I can, because that's really where you create the most opportunity. I mean, I stick with the adage of it's not what you know, it's who you know. And, you know, I'm a big promoter of that.
100% agree. And it's funny that you say that. I always say, oh yeah, I'm out shaking hands, kissing babies. I love that. And it's so important because what you had said before, all the other stuff is great. Meeting real estate agents, referral partners, all that is amazing. But then you also get the added benefit of what you had said before. You can meet a mentor. You can meet competitors who can give you ideas. They can bounce ideas off each other, all that. So how do you go into that with the right mindset to get the most out of that? Like, when you meet someone and say, hey, I want this guy to be my mentor, how do you make that happen? Or what do you recommend to someone who's saying, you know what, I need to go to more of these shows and figure out how to take more advantage of them? Yeah,
for sure. So I think it goes back to like, understand what you're trying to do short term and long term. Mm-hmm. So again, if it's a revenue goal, if it's a number of home service inspectors you want on your team, and then find who out there in the marketplace looks like that. I'll give you a perfect example of what I did. And I'm a big serendipitous guy, but I had an office in this area, right? And my business partner was getting coached by this woman who worked for this large agency at one time. This individual created the largest promotional company in the world at the time. So they would run promotions like Coke Rewards, stuff like that. Do you remember Coke Rewards? It's like flip the cap over, blah, yes. blah, blah. And there was a lot of times in my life where people are like, you remind me of this guy named Josh Linkner. And his name came up like 5 times. And I said, I got to meet this guy because the universe doesn't do stuff like this. So I literally, she connected me with him. I got his assistant. I sent an email and said, I want to meet Josh because this guy sold his company for over $100 million, started a venture fund in Detroit. Like, this guy's killing it. So for me, it's like, this guy's cool. He's an entrepreneur. He grew this company to my dream goal. I reached out to his assistant. His assistant emailed me the next day and said, the craziest thing happened. I was stuck in traffic. I look out my window and on the building, I see High Level Marketing, which is my company. He saw our office and said, I wonder who that company is. He woke up to an email with a request from me. So that's how the universe works. Long story short, I met the guy, and a lot of people came to him in prior saying, will you fund my business? We need capital. I met him and said, I just want to meet you and learn from you. And long story short, he introduced me to a EO, which is a entrepreneur group, because I'm like, I think I need therapy. He's like, you're an entrepreneur, join EO, be with other like-minded entrepreneurs. But that individual ended up joining my advisory board and started introducing me to all these people. So he was at a phase in his life where he just wanted to give back and help me and be successful because he already climbed that mountain. And I will tell you that a lot of people don't take that risk and put themselves out there. I did. I didn't want anything from him, but I just wanted to meet him. And just through natural, we created a relationship. So for the shows and everything like that, if you're a little introverted or you're not comfortable, find the right partner, find somebody that loves to do that stuff, that has a passion for your business. I mean, that's the one thing I talk to people and they're like, I don't know what the hell you just said, but it sounds amazing and you're passionate. It's because I give a shit and I'm passionate about what I do and what I represent. I mean, if you can find that in your business, again, not to go on another rant, but as a home inspector, like, real estate's flying off the shelves. Like, I'm looking out my window right now because I'm at home. I get letters sent to my mailbox that says, we are the Smith family and we are so interested in your sub. And if you ever want to move, like, I've never seen online like videos of a home inspector that says, see this beautiful house on the outside? Let me show you what's really going on and some of the stuff you want to be wary of when you're looking at a new house. You know, I think that there's just so much opportunity for home inspectors at any level, right? If you're owner operator, fantastic. If that's where you want to stay, great. If you want to scale it, man, there's no time like the present with the tools and everything available out there where you could really scale this business in a big way.
Absolutely. And, you know, one thing you did say there about the mentorship that I really like is, again, how it's not what you know, it's who you know. You don't have to go figure out everything from scratch because other people have done it before you. So you can go to someone, you can find someone at an event who does what you do. And have you seen this before? If you're a home inspector, they could go to an event, find out, all right, what equipment are they using? What kind of marketing are they doing? Who are they using as vendors, whether it's for marketing or payment processing? You don't have to do all the research, right? You can find out, all right, this is a company who's where I want to be. What are they doing? How did they do it? How did they get there? Do you see that at all?
So it's crazy, right? Like I have 4 kids and I just signed up. Well, I was forced to sign up to coach my kids' flag football team. So it's a bunch of 7 and 8-year-olds, right? And I'm more nervous about this than anything, right? And I will tell you, I run 2 plays with them. It's like a, quarterback gets the ball, they fake it to this guy, and then they give it to the other one, they run in for the touchdown. And we're very specific on these 2 plays. We won the game last week, like 35 to like maybe a touchdown. If I don't run the play, it is total chaos. And what I had to do is I kneel down to them and I say, hey, you're going to get the ball and act like who's a girl in your class? Because they're in first grade. Well, Julie. Act like Julie's chasing you and she's going to kiss you if she catches you. And they're like, she's not going to catch me. I'm going to go. But like, I use this stuff because guess what? It's a playbook. And when you execute a play and you win, and I think to your point, what you mentioned is when you find other people that have had success and you can understand that playbook of success, execute. You can sit there and figure out your own play and get crazy. I'm not saying don't, because that's business and life and you got to call audibles. But there's stuff out there like Tom Brady wins for a reason. He's a kick-ass. They got everything going, but they have well-executed plays. And honestly, in business, I wish I would have learned that sooner on, because I always would say, well, I'm going to go down this road and try it this way. It's like, no. Like, don't reinvent the wheel. It's home services. It's digital marketing. It's merchant processing. Like, you can take that play and add to it and change, but like the foundation's there. So I think that's really important.
I love that. And as a huge New England Patriots fan, I love that reference. Thank you. Oh, and you're in Michigan. So
Tom Brady started here, 10. Right?
Oh, yeah. That's where he started. Well, I love that. And that's so true. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. I love that you said that, because there are so many great examples. There's so many resources out there. And that's why we love covering resources. Whether it's books that are highly general or an article someone wrote for your industry, go check it out. Yeah. See what you can pull. What do you think about this too? So I've mentioned this on the podcast, but whether or not you're pulling things from your own industry, do you notice things in home services like translate to other home service industries, whether it's a plumber, a home inspector, a pressure washer, pest control? Some of these concepts do translate, right? Where you can say, hey, this is working marketing wise for this pest control company. Why not apply that to my home inspection company?
Absolutely. So like when I first started in business, right, as high level marketing, we try to be everything to everybody, right? Because if somebody's waving cash, we'll take the project on. We've really narrowed that down now to home services and healthcare, because to your point, whether you're a home inspector, a plumber, a roofer, the logic applies. The playbook is there, ready to execute against it. That's what's helpful. So I had the opportunity. We do a lot of home services and HVAC and plumbing. There's an association out there called QSC and PHCC. And what was really cool about this, it's home HVAC guys and plumbing companies come together to share best practices. Here's what we're doing. Like, they have small breakout sessions. I will tell you, my whole life changed when I joined. For me, it was called EO, Entrepreneur Organization. Other entrepreneurs that gross over $1 million of revenue. There's about 110 people in Detroit. I mean, I'm like the only digital marketing company in there. There's attorneys. There's, I think, a guy that builds keyboards just joined. There's all these different types of businesses. I learned so much through just other people's experience. And I think that the wider you can go with that and just learn other successes, and then you can start to pick things from it to put into your own process. But I'd also recommend hooking up with other like-minded home inspectors for that reason, right? What works, what doesn't work. I mean, what works in Sacramento may not work in Dedham, Massachusetts. But it's good to share war stories and get value and give value. I don't know. I'm a big proponent of that.
I love that. Yeah, it is so powerful. That's great. So I love that you think like that as well. And so my next question for you is, what are some advice, some things you'd say pull from somewhere else? What's working in home services right now that you'd say, hey, if you're a home inspector, you got to be doing this? What's working? And then later on, we'll get to what's not working right now. What do you see is working right now?
So the freebie I'd give out right now is I'm gonna pound on the Google reviews, right? A lot of guys and gals don't take advantage of that. I mean, those speak for themselves. So if you don't think that your customers or realtors that are using you aren't checking you out online and looking for your reviews, I mean, look, I go to Amazon and I think my default is like 4 stars or better before I buy anything. So it is so important for you to manage that the right way. And that also, I to me, if you ask me, like that makes up 15% of your whole SEO experience online is having good Google reviews. And there's also what's called citations. So citations is something we do. It's kind of like we just do it along with the website design development, but it's making sure that all your information online is with all the right directories. So let's call it Facebook, Instagram, Google Places, Yahoo, anything of any relevance online. It makes sure your information's consistent. And the one thing that does, it creates consistency, what search engines love. So whether people are typing in home services in home inspection services in your area or your business name, your information's clean and it looks great. It's presentable to the end user. So those are two things that, with a little bit of, knowledge and just getting out there and testing, you can do yourself. That'll create tremendous value.
That's awesome. So thank you for that. All right. So go do that if you haven't. And then what is not working? Have you heard of anything that whether it's inspectors or the home service industry in general have been trying to implement that you just see is not working and is a waste of money? Because I know we've talked about in this podcast today, we've talked about spending your money wisely for this. I'm sure there's a ton of stuff in marketing to dump money into, but what's something you would avoid?
Fortunately, I don't really know a lot because I kind of hang out in what works, but I would say, look, yep. Buyer beware with anything, right? Like I'm communicating today and I'm probably one of, I can't even tell you how many digital marketing companies out there, just like home inspection services. Like a lot of guys have a great business and then a handful, you're like, ugh, it's them again. They're not going to do a good job. Like just trust marketing companies, but verify. Because I can't tell you door hangers don't work. I can't tell you direct mail doesn't work. It just depends on who you're working with and like what the plan and strategy is and how are you tracking it. So again,
your market, your goal.
Go into everything with a plan, right? In a time frame and know where your dollars are going. And if it's not working, again, trust but verify, have conversations, and don't be afraid to cut bait if it's not working. You might get some companies that say, well, we need to invest for 36 months before we get a return. No. Again, I think this is where hooking up with a mentor to understand, hey, I'm thinking about investing, $3,000 a month for marketing. I need to get X amount of leads coming back. What have you done? Like, again, go to those resources and find the one that's going to help share in that, because you'll find one. You may not find it on the first try, but again, I think it's just, trust but verify in everything you do.
I love that. And so to arm our audience, what should they be asking? If they go and talk to any marketing company or anyone who's going to help them with marketing or anything like that, as they listen to this podcast, turn it off and go run to go upgrade their marketing. What are the questions they need to be asking when they're trusting but verifying? When they're verifying here, what are the questions they need to be asking? What metrics do you focus on? Is there any lingo you need to know?
Yeah. So the first thing I would do is say, before you reach out to anybody, understand what you're trying to do, because it's really difficult to hit a moving target. But if you need to talk to somebody to help you, assist you, to help you understand where you need to go. But I think from a marketing perspective, understand what that goal is. Is it a revenue goal? Is it we need X amount of jobs per day? Because it's a really simple formula, right? I mean, at the end of the day, people are going to call in on your phone, or they're going to hit an email form. And you need to understand how many conversations you're going to have to convert that prospect into a customer. So a lot of individuals will say, well, how many leads do you talk to, that are interested in your services, and how many do you close? And they'll say, every phone call. I say, well, that's cute, but let's use 1 out of 4, right? Let's use a 25% close ratio, and then understand in your market, right? Let's use Sacramento home inspection services. We as a company understand and will figure out how much is it going to cost to get that person to pick up the phone or reach out via email. So once we understand the lead cost, and I'm going to say 4 leads to get 1 closed piece of business. Let's say each lead costs $50. It's going to cost us $200 to get you one customer, is it worth it? And that's where the conversations start to happen, where they're going to say, well, shit, we only charge $220 an inspection. This might not make sense, right? Or raise your prices, or let's see if we can get that cost reduced. But usually where we land is a pretty smooth arithmetic in terms of like, okay, which is nice, because then if a home inspection service company wants to scale up leads, hey, I'm bringing in a home inspector. I want this guy to have 50 swings at the bat a week. I think we can close 20 of them. You know what the metric is, how much the spend is. What's 50 times 50? Like, that's the cost. So that's where we really start to build a relationship with the business to help them understand the metrics. And again, like what I just explained, it's that simple. And then we help along the way. Like, our job is to get the horse to water. Your job is to make them drink the water. And then we help everything along the way.
Great analogy there. So if anyone likes what they heard today and wants to hear more about high-level marketing, or ask you any questions, what's the best way they can get in touch with you or learn more about high-level marketing?
Yeah, for sure. So we have a great sales team. Everybody on the sales side has been with our organization for a long time. So if you go to our website, highlevelmarketing.com, HIGH levelmarketing.com, you can do the same thing. Call, hit the lead form. We have a live chat feature, which is really nice. And if you want to talk to me direct, and I'd love to share some strategies, probably easiest way for me is LinkedIn, honestly. Wesley Mathews with 1 T. Yeah, you can find me. I'm readily accessible there, and love to give feedback and help businesses through challenges. Like what we're talking about today is like, I love talking about it because I've been through it and I can speak from experience. And if I can help educate somebody around, like, look, I mean, I fumbled the ball many times. Like, if I picked up my shirt, you would see my scar wounds and as being an entrepreneur, but it's getting back up on that horse again and going and going and going. So I think it's really important I love sharing in that. That's what keeps me motivated.
Absolutely. I can tell. And that's why I'm so excited to have you join us on this podcast today. This has been an amazing episode. I think we've learned a lot, and thank you. Thank you. Cool. This has been great.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. So I think that'll do it for today. Thank you very much again, Wes Mathews. We appreciate it. Reach out to him on LinkedIn. Check out the website. They're doing a lot of great stuff. Great people over at High Level Marketing. And then also, if you are interested in eliminating your credit card processing bill, come check out www.pairpayments.com, and let's see how we can help you out. Set up a Zoom meeting with me. Let's see what we can do. But thank you so much to the audience for tuning in. We have a great roster, as always, a great roster of guests, just like Wes, who are experts in your industry, leaders in the field, influencers in the field, who are going to come in and give great insight, advice, and business tips. So that's what we do here at the Inspection Pros podcast. We're going to keep doing that. We actually recently got back from IEB, and so we have a fantastic roster from that event. I'm so excited to release some of these episodes coming out. We got a big backlog, but they'll be coming soon. Check us out on Instagram, YouTube, engage there, like, comment, subscribe. And as always, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Inspection Pros podcast. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the bell so you won't miss our next episode. This episode was produced by Jake Aronson. This has been a Pair Payments production.